What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here. So I know this is a little bit strange on a very strange video to have to put out, but it's another part of the Chelsea season. So here it comes. The inevitable happened. A lot of people are acting really surprised by this, from what I've seen so far. Reactions on social media, stuff like that. But Mourinho's out, and just like I've been saying, it has nothing to do with where they are on the table. You know, teams have blips sometimes. That happens. But what shouldn't happen is a manager completely doing stupid stuff off the field, losing control of the locker room, and that's pretty much what, from what I've heard from a couple of people from the club, a couple of people, in the football community. That's pretty much what they're saying, is that there's a lack of, I don't know what the right word is, harmony maybe, but there's just, they fell apart. Mourinho lost control, and that's why. You need a manager who's going to step up and say, look, I'm in control here. You guys do what I'm telling you to. And he had a lot of games to get it under control, and that's why I think it's time. We're 16 games into the season now, I believe, and things weren't getting any better. Like, every single game, just things kept getting worse as far as harmony of the team. The play was getting slightly better, but there was still a lack of team unity. There's always one guy that was playing better each game. One guy was getting better, one guy was getting better. It was never the team working together. And so, it's been such a long time coming. I honestly thought after the Bournemouth result, that might be it, because that's Bournemouth at home with your first team, and everybody's been calling for Van Gaal's head, all the Man U fans, after they lost to Bournemouth at Bournemouth with, most of their first team out injured. And I'm like, how come Chelsea gets a free pass when they lose at home? They have their whole first team in, and they still lose to Bournemouth. And obviously they did play well against Bournemouth and got hit by a late goal. Just couldn't finish. Whereas Bournemouth dominated the Man U game because, like I said, very few first team players on Man U's team. But that's an embarrassing result. That's a game that if you don't win it, you're constantly controlling the game, and Bournemouth doesn't have any chances whatsoever, and you tie 0-0. You don't give up a late goal. So I honestly thought that would be it. But then again, manager upheaval, you've got a big game in the Champions League in the midweek. Maybe that's not the right time. Played okay midweek, I thought, against Porto. If you watched that review, I talked about how it was mainly a poor decision on Porto's part. They came out playing defensive, where most of the teams that have been beating Chelsea this year are very aggressive. They push high, they press high, and that's been what's beaten Chelsea this year. And so Porto came out kind of playing defensive, no recognized striker up top, and I think that's what beat them. So it was just bad decisions on Porto's part that led to the win midweek. And then in the weekend, Leicester dominating the game for the most part. It wasn't until the very end, whenever they were playing desperation football, that they even got a goal back. And even then, Leicester was still creating so many chances on the other end. So, am I happy? No. I don't. This is one of those situations where I was right, but I didn't necessarily want to be. I really wish he could have done something. And about 7 games in was kind of the limit of me thinking, okay, he can turn this around. Then the 8th game happened. I don't know exactly what the game was. That game they may have won, but somewhere around between the 7th and 10th games, there were a couple games they lost at home. I was thinking, okay, he's had a chance to turn this around. It's not getting turned around. Something's got to change. Either he's got to stop being stubborn, or somebody's got to step in and say something. Something's got to happen. And then the 11th game happened, and then the 12th game happened, and then the 13th game, and things were not getting much better. The games they were winning were games they should win easily, and they were winning narrowly 1-0. The tie at Tottenham was, everybody was like, oh, that's one of the best games of the. I'm like, it's a tie at Tottenham, and they had the chance to win it, and they didn't. They didn't push forward for the win. Like it wasn't that good compared to what everybody was saying. So at this point, it's kind of like, yeah, he had to go. Like, he had a chance to turn it around. But my overall opinion, it started from the first game. Swansea were tied 2-2. Eva goes out in the field to treat Hazard, and he yells at her, and then that's become the talking point for the next 2 weeks, is their spat. Now Eva's quitting. And then other stuff transpired. He gets thrown out of one game because he tried to charge into the referee's locker room for a decision he disagreed with. Players just getting upset. Costa throwing a bib. Hazard, not shaking his hand this past weekend. It's just all been collapsing. And that's really, everybody's been wondering, how could they go from champions to being in 16th? That's how. It was just an all-out collapse between the team and the manager. I don't know. It may have started from the first week with everything that happened with Eva. Maybe some of them lost their respect for him in that game. Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it started from week 1. He had the chance to change it. He didn't. Kept making all these statements about the club not going to sack him. They're not going to sack me. They're not going to. Way too cocky, in my opinion, and you're never good enough. You're never too good to be sacked. If you're not producing, if things are going wrong, not only on the field but off the field as well, you deserve to be sacked. Thank you for, thank you for winning us trophies in the past. Thank you for that. But I mean, you can't live off of past glories. You can't be like Liverpool. You can't live off of past glories. And yes, that is a little joke at Liverpool fans. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. The other thing I did want to talk about also was the Champions League draw against PSG. It's almost, I feel like it's just become a yearly thing. Like, unless both Chelsea and PSG finish in the first place or in the second place in the group, they're going to end up facing each other. And even if they do, like, they'll likely face each other. I feel like, UEFA's corrupt. It's just my opinion. Definitely one of the harder games we could have gotten. Probably the hardest game we could have gotten. Aside from maybe... trying to think of the other one. What was it? I think Juventus was another second place team. I'm pretty sure. So it was either like PSG or Juventus would have been the two worst. Obviously, we can't face Arsenal, can't face Dynamo. 1 second. I'm gonna look it up really fast, just so I can clearly state something's wrong here. So, out of all the teams we could have gotten PSG, PSV, Benfica, Juventus, Roma, Arsenal, or FC Ghent. So yeah, there were two really, really tough teams to face in PSG and Juventus, two average teams in Benfica and probably Roma, and then Ghent was the other one. Or PS. So really, Ghent was the easiest opponent out of all of those, and of course we're not going to get them. But doesn't it? Okay, I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all. I'm not one of those people that are like, oh, Bush did 9/11 and all that stuff. But doesn't it feel a little coincidental that every single season, a few things happen? 1, Arsenal always ends up in a group with Bayern Munich. 2, Man City almost always ends up with some sort of whether it's Barcelona or Juventus, sometimes Bayern Munich, every year. Chelsea always ends up with probably the easiest group out of all of the English teams. And then in the knockout rounds, Arsenal most of the time gets somebody difficult. Chelsea almost always gets PSG if they're available. And then Man City always gets an easy team if they make it out. I mean, that's just isn't that always how it happens? You know, if you've got some proof otherwise, go ahead and put it in the comments. But I'm just saying. I don't know. It's, I mean, I could just be a little crazy, but that's how it feels. Anyway, but just to talk about the PSG game, depending on who they get in as the new manager, which I'm not going to talk about that because I don't know who's available. I've heard rumors that Pep may come in at the end of the season because his contract is running out. So I'm not going to talk about who I think will be the next manager because I honestly have no idea. There are probably several managers who want to, just because there are a lot of really good players here. You just have to get them playing well together. Anyway, but as far as the PSG result, I think this is a winnable game. I think that yes, obviously they've got a couple superstars. They've got Ibra. They've got like Thiago Silva. They've got all these big name players. But honestly, I mean, Thiago Silva is obviously a good defender. David Luiz, there's a reason we sold him for 50 million. Thank goodness. No, but he's a little bit crazy as far as a defender goes. He gets caught out a lot. Of course, when I saw him, they played in preseason here in the U.S. and I went and saw that game live. And he actually played pretty well that game. I haven't been watching PSG this season, but yeah, hopefully he's not. Hopefully he hasn't gotten better as a defender because that would make the game a lot tougher. Anyway, but yeah, it's a winnable game as long as Chelsea comes out to play. Playing together, really fighting hard as a team. That's it. That's a winnable game. Playing at home and away. You go to Paris and you play either for a draw or you play for maybe a 1-0 loss, and you come home and you attack them. You really take the game to them and score a few goals. But yeah, just as far as Juventus probably would have been a really difficult game. But so I'm glad that they're playing. Who was it? Bayern, I think. So one of the tough teams are going out in the first round. But I mean, between Juventus and PSG is definitely the easier game. They still have a lot of weakness in that team that we can exploit. So hopefully this new manager comes in, gets the team going, gets the team working together, and hopefully this Mourinho getting sacked will have some sort of positive effect on the team. If he really has been kind of losing control, maybe this will cause them to say, okay, now he's gone, let's do this, guys. I don't know. In my opinion, I think that it's kind of shameful for players to not play well because they're not getting along with the manager. You're still getting paid to play. But at the same time, there was a problem there that needed to be fixed. I just hate that, pretty much any chance of the Champions League now is just gone. I hate the fact that it got to that point before we finally said, okay, time to time to get rid of them. And now we're kind of not completely in a relegation battle, but we have to start picking up wins now, more than ever. So we'll see where it goes. Let me know if you agree or disagree, whether it is something that needed to be done or not. Whatever your opinion is, let me know in the comments down below. Leave a like and subscribe for more Chelsea commentary, review, all that good stuff, all the way through the season. A lot of games to review. So, but yeah, I'll see you guys at the game this weekend. Peace out.